All right, in this video, we're going to be going over a pretty sophisticated topic, and that's the topic of modes and modal interchange. This will help expand the emotional range of your songwriting by getting you to write beyond major and minor keys, and it will also help you to start writing new songs with more advanced chord progressions that you might have not written before. The first thing we have to understand before we get into modal interchange or anything like that is we need to understand what a mode is. And without knowing it, you probably already know two modes. There's the major key or the major scale. That's a mode. And there's also the minor key or a minor scale. The major scale and the minor scale are both modes. A mode is basically just a scale. And the difference between the major scale and the minor scale is the major scale sounds bright, it sounds happy, and the minor scale sounds dark and sad. And that's why songwriters will write songs in a major key or a minor key, because they invoke different emotions. However, there are actually 5 other modes that exist, and they are in different degrees of brightness and darkness. Actually, songwriters will write songs in different modes that are not the minor or major scale. And what you're doing there is you're playing with different palettes of brightness and darkness. So let me show you what the other modes are now. All right, so first we're going to start off with the major scale, and the major scale is also called the Ionian Mode. So the Ionian Mode is based on half steps and whole steps. So half step is one note to the closest note, like from here to here, from here to here, from here to here, right? Just one note to the very closest note. And a whole step is one note wider. So from here to here, right? Because there's one note inside there, or from here to here, or from here to here. Those are all whole steps. So the Ionian Mode is a whole step, half step, whole step, half step. So say we play the C Ionian Mode, you'd start on C, and then it's whole step, half step, whole step, half step, right? Because it's very close right here. If you notice there are 7 distinct notes. There's C, D, E, F, G, A, B. So there are 7 notes in a mode, and all the modes have 7 notes. And you can think of this as a 7 scale degrees. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. That's our Ionian Mode. This is what all the other modes are going to be based on. A mode that's brighter than the major scale, or the Ionian Mode, is the Lydian Mode. And the Lydian Mode has a raised 4. So it would sound like this. And we designate that raised 4 with a sharp, so it's called a sharp 4. So normally your major scale, your Ionian Mode would be C, D, E, F, right? But because we're raising the 4, now it's F sharp. So it's a sharp 4. So that's your brightest. Your brightest is Lydian. Then a little bit darker is the major scale, or the Ionian Mode. Then darker than that is called the Mixolydian Mode, and this has a flat 7. So normally you'd have your major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but we're flatting the 7, we're lowering it, so it's going to be B flat instead of B. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7. That's your Mixolydian Mode. The next darkest is the Dorian Mode, and the Dorian Mode is going to have a flat 3 and a flat 7, so we're adding the flat 3 now. The next darkest after that is the Aeolian Mode, and the Aeolian Mode is the same as the minor scale, or the minor key. So the Aeolian Mode, you're adding a flat 6 now. After the Aeolian Mode, the next darkest is the Phrygian Mode, and there you're going to add the flat 2. And then lastly is the Locrian Mode, and here you're going to add the flat 5. Okay, so now I'm going to play all the modes from Lydian all the way to Locrian, so you can see how it gets darker and darker as I go from mode to mode. Okay, so here's the Lydian, and then I'm going to progress all the way to the Locrian. Did you hear that? Did you see how it got darker and darker as I progressed? And so these are the different shades of brightness and darkness. So you don't have to just write songs in major keys and minor keys. You can write songs in any of these modes, and it's going to create a different feeling, a different vibe to your music. So you now know that every mode is going to have a different set of 7 notes, but also the implication of that is it's going to have a different set of 7 chords. So normally you have your major scale, right, the Ionian mode, and you know that the 7 notes are, if you're playing a C major scale or C Ionian mode, it's C, D, E, F, G, A, B. And from that, you can create your 7 chords, right, from those 7 notes. You have a C major, the 1 major, D minor, which is the 2 minor, E minor, or the 3 minor, 4 major, or the F major in this case, 5 major, or the G major in this case, 6 minor, or the A minor, and then 7 diminished, or the B diminished. But say you play something like the Dorian mode, right? You're going to have a different set of 7 chords. So the Dorian mode is C, D, E flat, F, G, A, B flat, C. Right, it's going to have that flat 3 and that flat 7. So the 7 chords of the Dorian mode would be 1 minor, 2 minor, flat 3 major, 4 major, 5 minor, 6 diminished, and then flat 7 major. Okay, so now here's a chart where you have the 7 modes and the chords of each of those modes from 1 to 7. And as you notice, all the modes are going to be a little bit different, right? So they're all going to have a different set of 7 chords. Another thing you can look at is that there are the major modes and the minor modes. So the major modes are the Lydian, the Ionian, and the Mixolydian. And then all the modes that have a flat 3 are considered the minor modes. So the Dorian, the Aeolian, the Phrygian, and the Locrian. So what you can do now is you can take one of these rows and pick a mode and just create a chord progression and write a song in that mode. So for example, we can take the Dorian mode, and a song that's written in the Dorian mode is Boulevard of Broken Dreams by Green Day. So here's how that would sound. So in that song, the listener is hearing the Dorian mode for 2 reasons. One, all 4 of those chords come from the Dorian mode. The 1 minor, the flat 3 major, the flat 7 major, and the 4 major. But 2 is that when you're writing modal music, meaning songs in different modes that aren't the major key, you want to end your chord progression with a characteristic chord. So this is what a characteristic chord is. It's a chord that only belongs to the Dorian, or that really says, hey, you're in the Dorian mode. So the end of this 4 chord cycle, we end with the 4 major chord, which is very characteristic to the Dorian, because if you look at all the other minor modes, they all have 4 minors. So the only mode that has both a minor 1 chord and a major 4 chord is the Dorian mode. So when you have it in your song, you go from a 4 major to a 1 minor, or that characteristic chord of the Dorian, back to the home chord of the Dorian. It tells the listener's ear, hey, you're in the Dorian mode, and it makes it very clear. So when you're writing modal music, music in modes that aren't the major key, then what you want to do is you want to have a characteristic chord at the end of your chord progression, followed by the 1 chord. It will really tell the listener's ear clearly that you're in that mode. Okay, so one more thing that you can do with modes is called modal interchange. So this is when you write a song in a major key, or your Ionian mode, and you borrow chords from other modes. So for example, a common thing to do is to take your Ionian mode, or the major key, and borrow chords from the Aeolian mode, or the minor key. So if you look at the 2 modes side to side, you notice that the 4 chord is major in the Ionian mode, but it's minor in the Aeolian mode. So a common thing to do is to borrow the 4 minor chord. So you write a song in a major key, and then you just throw in that 4 minor chord in there. That 4 minor chord is called a borrowed chord, and that technique is called using modal interchange. So an example of this technique is a song like Jar of Hearts by Christina Perri. So here's how that would sound. Okay, and that's it. So what you can do now is just take this chart here and go row by row, write songs in different modes, or you can go column by column and borrow chords from other modes and bring them in. And what you can do is just experiment around and figure out what sounds cool for you. For those of you that want more specific guidance and really want to go in depth into this topic, I actually already created a 2.5-hour course on how to write advanced chord progressions. And in one of the sections, I actually go column by column and show you how to use the most common modal interchanges and songs that use them. I'll link that in the description below. Alright, so that's it for this video on modes and modal interchange. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.